I'm a grown woman. It has been one festive day for me today. But I am back. We are back to do a part 2 to the video that I did start earlier today. It is actually a part 3. So this is a series that I started in relation to an email that I received from this white, submissive, bisexual, cuckold man who is 42 years old. He lives in South Florida. And he has an interest in dominant men, particularly black men, Hispanic men. But he also expressed an interest in femboys and trans women. So the first part of this series, the first video that I did was entitled Small Penis Syndrome in White Cuckold Men. And then I followed up with the second part to that with the video entitled Bisexual White Cuck Unveils Dark Secret Past and Interest in Trans Women and Femboys. So this is a part 3 to that. I started the video earlier today before I went out, but then I ran out of time. So this is definitely a part 3, part 2 to the third part actually of the video that I made earlier on what's the title of this video, you guys? Sorry. Oh, white submissive male craves dominant masculine energy. And I titled this video that because that is essentially where he stands right now, right? So to sum everything up, this is a white man who grew up without maternal, paternal figures in his life. His mom gave him up to his grandmother at the age of 7 years old, or at an early age. Could have been around that time. He didn't really specify. But he did say that he lost his father, his biological father, at the age of 7 years old due to alcoholism. So it kind of paints the backdrop of what this person here that we're going to kind of delve into, his email, like the kind of person he is, his background that he comes from. Though I get it, we aren't necessarily our hiccups, our history, but our history definitely helps to shape who we are and paint a picture in terms of our trajectory, unless we take a stand and take ownership of our past and do something about it, right? And improve ourselves for the better. So this is a man, I would say, who is very resilient, who, comes with a lot of courage, a lot of strength, a lot of insight. He's done a lot of self-reflective work. He's very attuned to himself and who he is. And he's very assertive and knows what he wants. And so he sent me his initial email several days ago, which of course then I responded with my follow-up video, which is the part 1 to this series that I made entitled Small Penis Syndrome, because he right off the bat was saying how he's only 5'3". He only has a 4.5 inch penis, right? And so I talked about those dynamics, and then he replied with a follow-up email addressing some of the questions that I raised in my initial video response. And so then I will follow up with the part 2 entitled Bisexual White Cuck Unveils Dark Secret Past. So let's get into it, right? So this again is a part 2 to part 3 of this series. It would have just been part 3, right, as a whole, but I did make the video as I was headed out to enjoy my day. I went to go see The Color Purple, so you guys can also come back and watch the review that I did on the movie The Color Purple. Phenomenal movie. So let's get back into this, right? So in the first part of this third part to the series, I addressed his first paragraph, right? And he went into some details, sharing some really kind of grotesque information related to his family dynamics. He shared that his brother died by suicide. His father died from alcoholism. Pretty tragic details of his past, right? And saying how he grew up in a house that had domestic violence. He didn't go into like specific details, but just to kind of paint the framework, right, of where we're coming from. He says that he doesn't remember necessarily being sexually abused, though sometimes he thinks about it and he maybe questions, right? And so I talked about how through psychoanalysis, a person can be able to kind of resurrect those repressed memories, right? And be able to kind of tap into the details of one's life that one may not necessarily readily recall, right? So he says, the crazy thing is that I survived. I'm not dead for sure, right? And if you're not dead, you're still breathing, which means there's still hope. By the way, hope is the biggest predictor of suicide. Well, loss of hope, that is, right? So there's still hope. He says, I'm not dead, addicted to substances, sick, or in prison. Many of my friends were not as lucky as me. My father was a weak man, but I am not. Interesting, his choice of words there, right? I didn't kind of touch on this because this was like the tail end of my last video. But interesting, his choice of words to say that his father was a weak man. And people equate, I guess, delving into substances. Granted, he spoke on, his use of cocaine and alcohol. So he was kind of treading down that path, but then he redeemed himself, by pulling his life together. And so he talked about around the age of 29, around 2009, he kind of pulled things together, had a wake-up call. And then my question was to kind of uncover and delve into what was the transformative event that triggered this wake-up call. Right? Like what happened? Something transpired that made you want to kind of pull things together and say, hold up. Right? My life is headed down a dead end road. Let me turn things around. What was it? Because you yourself was abusing substances. You were using substances, cocaine and alcohol, right? But you described your father as being a weak man. What is it that made him weak? All right, so he says, now back to the conversation. And I was just like, okay, I found that also interesting because kind of jarring us out of my dad calling me, but I won't be able to take this call. I just got off the phone with my dad, by the way. I won't be able to take this call right now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. So I find it interesting how he says, now back to the conversation. It's just like, it goes to show how sometimes we compartmentalize, right? Certain aspects of ourselves and our history. And clearly, okay, he's going to force me to answer. Let me answer. All right, we are back. So we compartmentalize. That word is always hard for me to say. So many syllables. But we section off parts of our life. We kind of put it in a box. Hold on. And I think that also in of itself could be considered like a defense mechanism. The fact that we compartmentalize. Okay, my dad is calling me again. Sorry, guys. Be right back.